Hello, universe. So just a heads up, I am actually going to bed very, very shortly here, so I apologize if my conversational skills are not quite up to par. I just had a very interesting conversation tonight that I felt like I should share with the world. Maybe it's new information, maybe it's a new perspective, maybe it's not, and this is something I should have known all along, but either way, just take a listen. I met this gentleman tonight who was very striking in an energetic kind of way. And we began talking. And he has a very, very different background from most other people that I've met. He actually came from France and Africa. And like back and forth between the two, it seems like he has a very complex backstory. But he was asking me like what I do for a living, and I'm like, well, I take care of dogs. I dog walk and do dog sittings and everything. And we started talking about life and creatures and transcendentalism and meditation and kind of how we present ourselves to the world and how confidence can oftentimes be very intimidating to people. It was interesting because he is seemingly aware of his confidence. That was probably what struck me a little bit, is that his presence in the room was just very, very strong and striking. And he began talking a little bit about that. I was talking about my perspective on confidence, and we started to ask the question, like, why do people fear other people just because of their own existence? Like, they're just living their best lives. And it seemed to come to a point that people fear other people's confidence simply because they are envious or jealous of that confidence in another person. And that jealousy is actually a fear of themselves not being good enough for their own perspective. So that went a lot deeper into conversation, and he was asking me like different questions about work and like what my purpose is in the world, kind of in a loose sense. And I was asking him the same. And at a certain point, I was like, I actually have to get back to these dogs. And I kind of like gave like a time frame because I wanted to continue speaking with him because he was fascinating. But I was like, yeah, one of these dogs is kind of a dickhead. Like, this is one of two dogs out of thousands and thousands of dogs that I've taken care of or walked or engaged with that have ever bit me. And so I don't have that much tolerance for him. He's actually looking at me right now like, you're still holding on to that shit? He hasn't bit me since. But it definitely changed my energy towards him. And he has a very bad attitude, it seems. And when I told this gentleman, like, yeah, one of these dogs is a complete dickhead and the other one is a sweetheart, he looks at me and he says, that's only because he's not fitting, or she is not fitting your idea of what a dog should behave like. And that kind of struck me a little bit. As far out as that sounds for it to be a striking comment, it made me think a lot more about other creatures' existences, that their existence is just as valid as our own. And I've only been bit by 2 dogs ever, and this little guy who I'm staring at right now, who looks like he's gonna fall asleep immediately, he bit me because I was leaving, and the other one bit me because I was trying to get a dead rabbit out of his mouth. That was a very nasty, awful experience. But when he said that, this dog is just not behaving in what my idea of what a dog should behave like, it got me really thinking that every creature really does have its own existence. Like, it's apparent that every living thing has its own functionality beyond primal instincts and biology. But I haven't really thought that much about it, especially since I work with so many dogs. At a certain point, every dog is kind of just a dog. And I don't really get that much time to get to know this creature or that creature. There's some in particular here and there that have very striking personalities that I connect with. But this little guy I have a very hard time with. He's very aggressive and kind of entitled, while his little buddy is very well behaved and very sweet. And she's actually, I hear her coming down the stairs right now. I think her ears are burning. But it's often crossed my mind, like, what goes on in the minds of these creatures? Like, they have their anxieties and their concerns and their priorities that they set for themselves, even if they are completely home-based. Like, I'm not supposed to walk these dogs because of the outside creatures being up to, like, even just the birds are, like, 4 times bigger than these things. They're, like, basically teacup Yorkies. To think that I got bit by a teacup Yorkie is kind of sad. But it's crossed my mind multiple times, like, what do they think about? What is their to-do list when they wake up in the morning? What is their concern when I wake up in the morning and they see me moving around? And it stemmed a little bit further into humans, because I've thought about this oftentimes with other humans, because when it comes to other people that have very, very different ideologies than our own, it becomes very difficult to see them as human. Like, hence, when demographics clash so aggressively, it is very easy for them to become dehumanized. Like, just for example, during the Hitler era, the Jews were literally portrayed as rats in many ads and propaganda that were published around all over the place. And even now, like, Hispanics are considered just rapists and criminals. A lot of people don't see them as more than that. A lot of people don't see Black individuals as more than just their skin color, or even sometimes vice versa. Like, white people are often feared because of their privileges, but all at the same time, we're all existing in and of our own path. We all have our own priorities, our own anxieties, our own concerns, our own to-do list when we wake up in the morning, and own concerns when the people you live with wake up in the morning and start moving around. Oh my gosh, this little dog is being so cute right now. But it got me thinking a lot more, because I've talked about it previously with people about you really need to get on the same level of people that you disagree with. Especially with my months of canvassing. It felt like years. It was a very long time of work. It was like 9 months of canvassing for Amnesty International. I met a lot of different types of people. I had a very long conversation with a admitted murderer. That's a conversation for another day, but his morals behind what he did were so strong that it really challenged my own morals. And I met many Trump supporters that were incredibly aggressive towards Hispanics, and I would get on their level and talk with them. Given how light my skin is, I could get away with being a white person speaking to a Trump supporter hating Mexicans or Hispanic people in general. But then at a certain point in the conversation, after I'd gotten on their level and they're starting to hear what I'm saying and they're starting to understand and open their minds up a little bit, then I admit I am Hispanic. Like, you have been speaking quite crudely against my people this entire time, but I'm here listening to you trying to make you understand my perspective. And I think that is a very, very key thing that people need to pay attention to, especially in this time frame. There's a lot of demographic chaos that is quite tragic to watch and hear and experience, especially with the white supremacy and Antifa and the police violence, the demographic leading the mass shooting attacks. All of these different things, we put these people in a bubble that this is what you do if you look like this, if you act like this, if this is your color of your skin. But no matter what, these people are just people. These animals are just animals, and we are animals all the same. We're just miraculous living organisms on a rock floating in space, inevitably going to get eaten by either a black hole or the flare of a sun. Or our sun, potentially. Who knows? It could be anything. Aliens could come and take us out. But if you really spend the time trying to understand why people think the way they think, you'll often see that their genuine goal is to make life better. And if that means that they're going about it in what we perceive to be a very violent, awful way, it doesn't necessarily mean that in their mind it is a violent, awful way. That is just their method of getting their business done. That doesn't mean that it's right. I'm not trying to justify any awful, awful things. Don't twist my words up, please. But what I'm really trying to get at is every person has their own path, their own lessons to learn. And sometimes they just need a helping hand to get out of the darkness that they may have jumped into. Joe Rogan says this really funny thing that I'm going to make applicable. It's going to sound like a very wide off turn. But he says, a lot of vegans are vegans just because Scientology didn't find them first. And this is very, very accurate. Like, especially if you watch interviews of ex-KKK members, ex-Scientologists, even people who have joined gangs, human trafficking. These interviews with these people, almost every single one of them said that they were just seeking out a source of family. Someone that would agree with them or give them something to believe in the first place. Everyone just wants a place to be accepted. And if that is a group that is excessively violent towards multiple other groups of people, that doesn't demean the individual making those actions, that their path is no less valuable than your own. Oh my gosh, they're playing right now. Sorry for the noise in the background. But every single path that people are on, they just need a helping hand to find the kindest and most productive way to get their ideologies in place. And almost everyone's ideologies start from the same place. A need to be loved, a need to be accepted, and a place to be heard. So, going back to this dog that I called a dickhead. Oh my gosh, they're so cute. I wish you guys could see this shit right now. It got me really thinking about his perspective. He is so scared of being left alone that he will do anything to try to get you to stay, even if that means violence. He doesn't want change in the day. He just wants love and to be held and to be pet and to be played with by his buddy. This is just food for thought, and I'm terribly exhausted. I'm like an hour and a half past my bedtime and missed my siesta today, so I'm like 3 hours sleep deprived at least. Yeah, just think on that. Let me know what you think, your perspective, your opinions. And please, I beg of you guys, do not twist my words and say that I'm trying to back up violent behaviors or anything like that. I'm just trying to remind all of you that a group is not... Let me see if I can word this better. The individuals that form a group don't lessen the actions that their group causes, but the actions that the individuals themselves act out could be altered with kindness and loving communication. You can't go to someone who doesn't agree with you and say, fuck you, you're wrong. They're not going to listen. They're only going to get angry. That goes with absolutely anyone, even myself. Like, if you say, fuck you, you're wrong to me, I will at first ask you, like, why? And then if you don't give me a very good reason and you're just like, fuck you, you're wrong, I'm going to get pissed off. Like, if you don't have a reason, I'm going to start thinking that you're hating me as a person. And a lot of people get caught up in this. Like, this is an era of snowflakes, and people get so easily offended that they are not giving other people the opportunity to exist as another human. They are getting put in boxes with behaviors that they may or may not exert. So, as always, just make sure that you're proud of who you were today. And jump on the Dead Roots Facebook page. Join that family up in there. And I'll talk to you guys later. Love you guys. Live spicy.